Hello, welcome to Healthy Living with Nurse Heidi. I'm Nurse Heidi. Good to be with y'all today. I just wanted to check in with you, see how everyone's been taking care of their integumentary system since last month. Hope you're feeling refreshed and hydrated in this new year. So it's month 2. We're going to be talking about the cardiovascular system. But first, I need a disclaimer that this is not prescriptive medical advice. These are preventative measures that I have consolidated here in one place for us all to learn. I am not your healthcare provider. If you have any questions, please contact your healthcare provider. I'm not prescribing these things to you. I'm not liable or responsible for your actions. Nothing I provide is meant to substitute for your personal, professional, medical provider in your life, or to substitute for their advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult with your physician or healthcare provider before starting any new healthcare regimen. So, the cardiovascular system. What is that? The cardiovascular system consists of your heart, which is a big pump / electrical system, and all of the tubing throughout your body, which consists of your arteries and your veins. The cardiovascular system pumps blood all over the body and to the lungs. The flow generally goes, blood returns from the body to the heart through the venous system, then it flows through your heart and it pumps to your lungs to be oxygenated, returns to the heart, and then is pumped out of the heart through your arteries to flow through the rest of your body. Your blood is what's pumped by your heart, and it carries oxygen, nutrients, waste products, a lot of things, and that's a whole different conversation. The blood is a whole different subject, connective tissue, very interesting. But the cardiovascular system consists of the heart and the vasculature. Why is the cardiovascular system so important? And why is it important to keep it healthy? Because that's our big thing here. We're talking about preventative techniques, preventative things that we can do now to help increase our health and longevity. So the big disease process in the cardiovascular system is atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease. Big old couple of words. ASCVD is the abbreviation, and it's the leading cause morbidity and mortality globally, like over the whole planet, and it's the leading cause of death in America. This disease is attributed to uncontrolled risk factors and poor implementation of preventative strategies. It's multifactorial. A lot of things contribute to ASCVD, atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease. A lot of things contribute to it, but what can we control about it? How can we affect it to live a healthy life and to take care of our heart and our blood vessels? Well, there are a thing called risk factors. I don't know if you've heard of a risk factor. Those are things that increase your chance or likelihood of a negative outcome or event. There are some things that are not modifiable, like your race or your genetics. Some things like that predispose you to have some kind of a disease or illness. Particularly, we're talking about cardiovascular problem, but there are modifiable risk factors. Those are things that we can affect, like our diet, our lifestyle, like sedentary lifestyle, smoking, and some comorbidities like diabetes or high blood pressure. Those are some of the modifiable risk factors that we institute preventative things to help our body be well. If you're a standard American, especially a Southern American, you are at risk of developing this cardiovascular disease, and you would benefit from taking preventative measures to improve the health of your heart and your vessels. Standard American diet, standard American activity level, In the southern states, we tend to eat more fried foods and lots of sugary beverages like sweet tea. We kind of set the stage for our heart to have a hard time and for our arteries and veins to be clogged and filled with plaque. There's a lot of pathophysiology that we could discuss, but that's not really what this channel is about. And it's critically important for prevention to be our main intervention here. Okay. Prevention is our bread and butter. Okay. You've heard the phrase, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. If we use a lot of prevention, that's much more valuable. It's like a piece of gold versus a piece of aluminum, And so I want to encourage us to be in the driver's seat of our lives, okay? Take control of our actions, take responsibility for our actions and for our health, and to be intentional about what we're doing, the actions we take, consider the outcome of the actions we take, and don't let our appetites rule our lives in more than one way. Our stomachs, as in things we crave and have an appetite to eat, but also the things like that we like to do with our time, Facebook epidemic or social media, scrolling on all kinds of apps to waste time and be sedentary and sit around to entertain ourselves versus going outside to enjoy some sunshine or kick a ball around or walk the dog or, being intentional. Speaking of intentional, let's take a few deep breaths together. We didn't get to do this to begin. Just let's breathe in our nose and then out our mouth. This helps us settle into where we are instead of all the other thoughts that kind of are flooding our mind, so we can pay attention to what we're talking about right now. Here we go. Prevention strategies must include a strong focus on our lifestyle and optimizing it to minimize the risk of a future cardiovascular event. This is a long game that we're playing with our cardiovascular health. We want to prevent anything from happening. A lot of research coming out of the American College of Cardiology and the American Heart Association. These guys, they're big names in the cardiovascular game. They've written guidelines for primary prevention of cardiovascular disease. They pretty much summarize and condense all the research, and they wrote the book on prevention, okay? So this stuff it's solid, it's evidence-based. The things that we can optimize are our diet, our physical activity, and smoking cessation, quitting smoking tobacco, or exposure to secondhand smoke. You'll notice throughout the months that there will be a theme of diet and exercise, because that's just kind of how our human body works. What we put in it becomes what it's made out of. The cells are made out of what we put in it. And from the cells to tissues to organs to organ systems to the whole organism, it all is kind of building blocks, and it builds one on the other. So diet it plays a huge role in how our body will function, the health of it, and the resilience to illness or, the development of illness or chronic illness, and the wellness of our body, So we don't have to always look at how everything could be bad. We can start looking at how we can improve it and make it good by implementing some of these preventative things. So yeah, big on diet, big on exercise / physical activity, however you want to think about that. And then smoking. We've talked about it in the skin session. We're done with smoking, guys. We're done with smoking. So there you go. Okay, so let's talk about nutrition and diet. The American Heart Association, their big thing is a diet that's high in fruits, veggies, and whole grains. Deep colored fruit and veggie is usually more nutrient dense than a lighter colored fruit or veggie. So think of like dark leafy greens or sweet potato, peaches, really brightly colored fruits and vegetables are usually more dense in nutrients than a white or lighter colored, like a white potato or grapes or apple. Whole foods in general are better for you than a preparation of some sort, and all types are good for you. Fresh foods, frozen is a really good option. They're usually similar and sometimes higher in nutrient content and with a lower price. Or you can use canned foods or dried fruits and vegetables. Those are all good options to get it in your, to get it on your plate. As far as protein sources, they suggest fish, legumes, which is like beans, and poultry. Those are the preferred sources of protein. You want to minimize red meat. Minimize is the key word. You just don't want to eat red meat every night of the week, Minimizing processed meats like potted meat, like Spam, stuff like that. So, and try and make a switch from a fatty meat to a leaner source. So, like if you're eating ground beef or something, or chicken, just try and trim off some of that fat the best you can. A big deal is minimizing the amount of trans fats and saturated fats and trading them for unsaturated fats. Okay, so what is the difference? A trans fat or saturated fat, when you'll see this on like a food label as hydrogenated with trans fat and saturated fat, these are fats that are solid at room temperature. So if you're holding a trans fat in your hand, it's going to be solid. So that'd be like butter, animal fats, stuff like that. If it's solid at room temperature, margarine. So you want to reduce the amount of that you're eating. And there's a lot of this hydrogenated oil, trans fat, saturated fat in processed and packaged foods, because the whole point, they use this kind of fat because it's more shelf stable, and they use all kind of chemicals to make these foods shelf stable. So keep that in mind. So you want to try and reduce or minimize the amount of trans and saturated fats you're eating and replace it with unsaturated fats, which includes monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats. The thing about the unsaturated fat is that it is liquid at room temperature. So, just think about the blood flowing around in all your vessels, and butter or these trans and saturated fats, they congeal at room temperature. Your body temperature is not room temperature, but it just is more prone to set up in your vasculature versus the liquid or unsaturated oils. They're just better for you per the research. So monounsaturated fats are like olive oil or avocado oil, other seed oils, and you can do more research on that, on seed oils versus other oils. And polyunsaturated fats are kind of like another designation under unsaturated, and that's like omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. So a big push from the American Heart Association to eat more fish, like 2 to 3 times a week. This way, when you eat more fish, you kind of use that better protein source, and you can also get some of these omega-3 fatty acids, which is a healthy source of fat, and this will replace some of the saturated fat that could, make its way into your diet. So increase the amount of fish you eat, says 2 to 3 times a week as a protein source. And generally speaking, we want to minimize any added sugars in beverages and foods. Going back to the prepackaged, super processed foods have a lot of added sugar in them. That and A lot of the beverages that we're drinking have added sugar, or they have sugar substitute, which is also not suggested. So try to increase like water or tea, unsweetened tea, if you can. If you could do that, that would be good. Coffee. And also you want to minimize sodium. This is a big one. They suggest less than 2,000 milligrams in a day. So all I can say is read a label. Try not to add a whole lot of salt to your foods that you're preparing yourself. But read a label. At work the other day, someone had a snack from Buc-ee's. It was like some little chip cracker things, and there was like 800 milligrams per half cup serving. It's just like, and you know how we all just blow through a serving of something, you just pour it in your hand and throw it back. So just being mindful of what you're putting in your mouth is where we should all start. So that's diet, okay? And generally speaking about diet, you can manage more easily what is going into your body if you're preparing your own foods. And it doesn't have to be complicated. I know for myself personally, I don't always make a lot of recipes. I just end up making ingredients and eating them together. That way, I don't know, that's just easier for me. So I'll make like a fish of some kind of fish, and then I'll make one or two or three vegetables and just throw it all together and eat it. So it's not like a recipe, but it is good ingredients. And preparing it at yourself, you can control what kind of salt there is or any added sugar or anything like that, and what kind of oil, if any, that you're using to prepare the foods. And that's a really key way to reduce the amount of added ingredients, so you can know what is in the food you're eating. Not always easy to do, to prepare your own food. I get it. In life these days, it's, we all tend to be going 100 miles an hour in multiple directions. So, but this is a call to us all to be mindful of what we're doing, being intentional. The next thing is exercise, physical activity. All adults, this is the recommendation from the American Heart Association. All adults should strive to engage in regular, brisk physical activity most days of the week. So, okay, it's a little vague, but they get more specific. The official recommendation is at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity, and that's accumulative over the whole week. So for the math people, or for all of us, just for some perspective, 150 minutes is 2.5 hours out of 7 days, which is in total 168 hours. So I did not do the percentage, but 2.5 hours out of 168 hours, yeah, we can do this. Okay, we can increase our physical activity to get at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity. So what is moderate intensity activity? Anything like a brisk walk, dancing, ballroom dancing or social, or just dancing in the living room, whatever, gardening, or biking. So that's like moderate intensity, a brisk walk. You could do 150 minutes of your moderate intensity activity in one day for 2.5 hours. Just go at it, be gardening, I guess, or dancing for 2.5 hours, whatever. But it is suggested to spread it over at least 2 days in the week. And then even more, it's better to you can break it up. It's accumulated is the idea. So, you could go for a 10-minute walk in the morning after breakfast, or on your lunch break, go for a 10-minute walk, go outside, get some fresh air and some sunshine. Walk the dog. They want to go walk, and little Levi, he loves it when we go. I can't say that word too loud or he'll freak out. But anyway, yeah, so accumulated over the whole 7 days of a week, 150 minutes of moderate intensity, or you can do 75 minutes of vigorous intensity. And that's like hiking uphill, running, swimming laps, or vigorous aerobic dancing. Like some of these videos, you could do some YouTube video of a dance workout. Tennis or cycling at a faster rate, or jumping rope. So sedentary means in our waking state, while we're awake, in a position of sitting or reclining. Sedentary, so literally sitting down. So if, and a majority of Americans are doing this. If we're not at that 150 minutes a week, don't feel bad about yourself, about what's going on. Just, you have to start somewhere, and that's fine. If today's the day, today is the only day. So, even if you've been sedentary for years, today is a great day to begin making those healthy changes in our lives, right? And it's good to make a reachable goal. Start working toward this recommended amount by increasing your time and your activity as you get stronger. Any amount of movement is better than none at all. And you can break it up into those short bouts of activity throughout the day. Just start with a walk, y'all. Walking is free, and it can be done anywhere. You can even do it standing in place. Like, you don't have to go walk down the street if you don't want to get out the house. Just take a break from your scrolling and stand up and walk in place for 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. And I do suggest, though, it is so nice outside, you guys. We need the fresh air. We need the sun on our skin with sunscreen if you're going to be out there for a long time. But anyway, walking is a good place to start. And I encourage us all to increase our activity level. And we have a goal now of 150 minutes per week. If you are anywhere from 0 minutes to wherever, we have a goal that we can now look forward to. So there we go. And the third one is smoking cessation. Cigarette smoking, it remains to be a strong risk factor, independent risk factor for cardiovascular events and premature death. It is beneficial to reduce your excess risk. There's plenty else to be said about quitting smoking tobacco. And I know that's not an easy thing. I used to smoke. I was healed in Jesus' name. So it's been a couple years now, but the longer when you quit smoking, the longer and longer that you don't smoke, your cardiovascular system and your lungs will regenerate and heal. And I think it's at like 15 years, you're at the same risk as a non-smoker. I think that's correct. At about 15 years. So, quit smoking. It's the best thing. It's not doing anything for us and nothing but killing us. So, and increasing our chances of a cardiovascular disease or event. So, to boil it all down, cardiovascular health boils down to the health of the vessels. We want to reduce the amount of plaque buildup in our vessels. We want to, by decreasing inflammation, decreasing the bad cholesterol, which is the LDL cholesterol, and increasing the good cholesterol, which is the HDL. We didn't get into that, but that's the whole thing, is we don't want the LDL cholesterol. And we want to reduce our modifiable risks, which are the diet quality, the amount of physical activity, and smoking. So that's what we want to do to help improve the health of our cardiovascular system and our vessels. Considering all these things, it can be kind of daunting to look at your health picture and not feel, some kind of way about it. But we are here to look at the picture and make the next best choice. I like to think of it like this. Any choice that you make, you could make a good choice, a better choice, or the best choice. So, when you choose to eat or eat something that you shouldn't, or lay on the couch when you could go out and walk or something, that choice is not necessarily a bad choice. It could be the good choice for that moment, but you could also make a better choice or the best choice in that moment. Maybe to switch the candy bar for an apple and a piece of lean protein. The whole idea, though, is to make slow, consistent change in your diet and activity level, because that is what will yield the better outcome in the long term, is slow, consistent change. Don't let all or nothing thinking keep you from doing what you can. It's like, I'm going to either do it all the way right or I'm going to not do it at all. That can really ruin or shoot down any kind of efforts you try to put in, as if you just ruin, self-sabotage kind of thing. Changes will happen whenever you're ready to commit, and no one can make those decisions for you or cause you to change, and it's a personal choice that we get to make in our own lives. So just here to encourage and empower us to take the best care we can of ourselves. Thank you all for coming to watch, and have a blessed day.